Ladies and gentlemen, Angela Bofill.
I tried to do.
She embodied everything one could desire in an artist. Possessing a voice as crystalline as fine-cut glass, she was a dynamic and charismatic performer with stunning beauty, coupled with the rare ability to write songs and play instruments. Angela was the complete package, yet tragically and criminally underrated. Her sprawling jazz composition, Under the Moon and Over the Sky, the soulful I Try, and the popular hit Angel of the Night. Not only showcased her exceptional talent, but also her remarkable versatility. I don't know if you noticed, but she bore a striking resemblance to her friend and label mate at Arista Records, Phyllis Hyman. Well, coincidentally, as funny as it looks, just like Phyllis Hyman, Angela Bofill found herself out of favor at Arista at the expense of Whitney Houston, the moment she became adamant to fully cross over to the then fan favorite pop music. And this refusal to fully cross over would in turn see her career suffer. And by the 90s, she would be heavily blacklisted from the industry despite releasing new music. To make matters worse over the years, she would suffer not one, but two debilitating strokes which left her penniless due to her lacking health insurance, to the extent of her manager Rich Engel organizing a benefit concert together with a couple of New York radio stations for the purpose of paying the hospital bills. According to the American Stroke Association, a stroke is a disease that affects the arteries leading to and within the brain. It is crucial for us to be well-versed in its main causes and the necessary prevention measures in a bid to keep both ourselves and our loved ones safe. Additionally, in the event one experiences it, let it be known that having a stroke does not define us. There is life and hope after a stroke. Rehabilitation is key and can build strength, capability, and confidence. While in rehabilitation, ensure you celebrate all the small victories along your way to recovery. Stroke is very much beatable. This is exactly what Angela Bofill did. The two strokes never took away her positive, humorous personality and her fighter spirit. And even after she lost the ability to sing later on, she still returned to the stage in 2011 with The Angela Bofill Experience, where she skillfully narrated her life story, emerging as a beacon of resilience, never saying never. However, as strong as she was, on June 13, 2024, roughly about a month after celebrating her 70th birthday, she sadly passed away at her daughter's home in California. Was her death caused by her health complications over the years? Or was it as a result of something else? It is alleged that she had been in a lengthy lawsuit with a record label that had purchased her music rights and was withholding her royalties. Before we dig deep into this allegations, let's get to know how this gifted lady got to be the special diva she is. This is the untold story of Angela Tomasa Bofill. Angela Bofill was born on May 2, 1954, in the Bronx, New York, the eldest of two daughters to a Cuban dock worker father and a Puerto Rican social worker mother. Her background was multicultural, and so was the music heard in the Bofill household. From Latin rhythms and classical melodies to the soul and jazz resonances of her neighborhood, music was omnipresent in the Bofill household. To top it up, her father was always playing his conga and had, during his younger years, sung with the Cuban bandleader Machito. With this early exposure and the encouragement from her father, music became a part of a young Bofill, and as early as age 4, she started singing, dreaming that one day she would hear her own voice on radio.
I mean, did it all start also, like, say, for instance, did you know, like, maybe in the choir that you had this talent? Or when did you know that, hey, I could sing? When did you know that?
I was 4.
4 years old?
I was 4 years old.
By the age of 10, Angela had already penned a children's operetta from a story in a Girl Scout book and was resolute in her ambition to become a professional singer, supported by her mother's insistence on a solid education to complement her musical talents. Formal training commenced with piano and viola lessons, and she later attended Hunter College High School, where she enriched her musical skills as a violist in the orchestra and also sang in the chorus. At home, Angela collaborated musically with her sister Sandra and formed the group Puerto Rican Supremes, heavily influenced by the iconic Motown trio. Her passion for songwriting burgeoned at 16, yielding early compositions like I Try, which would later come to turn magical. When she turned 17, her talent earned her a place in the prestigious All-City Chorus, which featured the top vocalists from across New York City's 5 boroughs. Graduating from high school in the following year, and with the encouragement from her teachers and principal, she embarked on higher education at Hart College of Music, later transferring to Manhattan School of Music in 1973, where she found herself the only voice major experimenting with jazz. She also began performing with a local popular salsa Latin band, Ricardo Morero and the Group, which not only created a buzz on the city's club circuit, but also helped pay her tuition bills at the Manhattan School. It is while performing with this group that she managed to record the acclaimed single, My Friend, taken from the album A Taste, that saw her win an award for Latin Female Vocalist of the Year from Latin New York magazine. There's this one time in Manhattan she was given an assignment that gave birth to her future hit song, Under the Moon and Over the Sky. Her fame with the Ricardo Morero Group was however short-lived, and immediately after earning her Bachelor of Music degree in 1976, a disenchanted Bofill left the group and joined the New York Dance Theater of Harlem Chorus as a soloist. For the next 2 years, Angela Bofill struggled to make ends meet, unaware that her solo efforts in securing gigs were flawed. Without a manager, agent, or record company backing her, she managed to earn just $3,000. Frustrations mounted until her childhood friend and former bandmate Dave Valentin intervened. Valentin, a signee of GRP Records, arranged an audition for Bofill with the label after putting in a good word for Bofill to his bosses. Bofill, who had written around 6 songs at the time, brought in the demonstration tapes to the GRP offices, which impressed the GRP's executives, who promptly offered her a long-term contract.
Dave Valentine brought me up there, and I had this little cassette that I made, which are just songs that I'd written with just piano, and came up there and they heard it, and they were just really knocked out. A month later, I was in the studio.
In 1978, GRP released her debut album, Angie, which received both critical acclaim and commercial success. Featuring hits like This Time I'll Be Sweeter and the jazz composition Under the Moon and Over the Sky, the album established Bofill as a formidable talent. Her subsequent album, Angel of the Night, further solidified her reputation, with songs like I Try becoming staples on radio stations, embracing the emerging quiet storm genre. Throughout 1979, Bofill's concerts sold out across the United States and Europe, impressing audiences and music critics alike with her powerful voice and expansive range. Following her breakthrough, Angela Bofill encountered contractual disputes with GRP label. Fortunately, Clive Davis of Arista Records faced similar challenges with Phyllis Hyman, who was proving to be difficult to work with, as she was adamant to fully switch to the then-popular pop genre. Clive Davis, prioritizing profitability, sought alternatives and turned to artists like Aretha Franklin, Dionne Warwick, and like Hyman's replacement, Angela Bofill. Bofill welcomed the opportunity at Arista, enticed not only by a more lucrative deal than GRP, but also by the freedom to continue writing her own songs. Clive Davis then partnered Bofill with producer Narada Michael Walden for her next album, Something About You, released in October 1981. Just like Phyllis, this album was an attempt to move Bofill into mainstream R&B and pop music. While some of Bofill's jazz fans balked at the new album, it was undoubtedly a critical success, providing her with some of the best material of her career, including the stepper Holding Out for Love and the wonderful ballads Break It to Me Gently and Earl Klug's You Should Know by Now. It was one of 1982's best albums, but unfortunately Arista pulled a rare blunder in its choices of singles to be released from the album, and the disc never received the props it deserved. Undeterred, Bofill and Walden collaborated again for Too Tough in 1983, which was even more directly aimed at the urban market, with a funk-laden title cut and very little resembling her earlier jazz stylings. And while it became her highest charting album on the R&B charts, It was at the expense of her loyal jazz following, which never really came back. Subsequent albums like 1983's Teaser, which yielded a notable R&B hit, I'm on Your Side, failed to replicate the success of Too Tough. Throughout the mid-1980s, Bofill recorded albums like Let Me Be the One and Tell Me Tomorrow, leveraging collaborations with producers like The System and George Duke. Yet, just like Phyllis Hyman, the emergence of Whitney Houston at Arista proved fatal for her career.
It drives some producers crazy because I'm very adamant at what I like and what I don't like. In opera, what do they call them, divas?
Many people say that if she'd been wise, she'd have left Arista during this time. If not, she'd not have joined the label right from the beginning. Others say that had she moved with the trend of pop music, her story would have been different. But truth is, life is always a gamble. No one has a manual, and it is the risks that either take us 1,000 steps forward or bury us 6 feet under. This period coincided with the birth of her daughter Shauna with her then-husband, Rick Vincent. Frustrated, she decided to take a 3-year hiatus to focus on motherhood, which she acknowledged it changed her in many ways. She is quoted saying that it not only grounded her emotionally, made her more assertive and made her know she wanted more, but it also affected her musical abilities. She said she gained 3 notes on her upper register during this period. Coming back in 1988, she moved to Capitol Records, and producer extraordinaire Norman Connors helped her in the album Intuition that year, and Love Is in Your Eyes in 1991. She did a couple of tours and concerts after this, before releasing yet another album, I Wanna Love Somebody, in 1993 under Jive Records. In 1994, tragedy struck back home. She divorced with her husband, leaving her to fend for her daughter while trying very hard to resurrect her career. She released Love in Slow Motion in 1996 under Shinachi Records and spent the rest of the 90s and early 2000s to extend her fan base to Japan and the Philippines. She also stayed in touch with her stage roots by appearing in several gospel musicals, with several of her classic albums reissued during this time too. Fast forward in the summer of 2005, she made many stops, among them New York's Blue Note and other top U.S. jazz clubs, and New York's Women in Jazz Festival. On January 10, 2006, tragedy struck again. She suffered a stroke which paralyzed her left side. She convalesced at Sutter Hospital in Santa Rosa, California, and was released from intensive care on January 15th, requiring speech and physical therapy. To make matters worse, Bofill lacked health insurance, and it had forced her manager, Rich Engel, together with a couple of New York radio stations, to organize a benefit concert for the purpose of paying the hospital bills. It took place on March 11, 2006, at the Bergen Performing Arts Center in Englewood, New Jersey. Similar events followed, and other aid was sought from the Rhythm and Blues Foundation. Just a year later, she suffered a second stroke in July, which required therapy and left both her speech and mobility impaired. She forgot all her songs during this period. As devastating as it was, she decided to face life head-on, activating her fighter spirit. Despite her losing the ability to sing after 3 years of fighting so hard in the road to recovery, coupled with never-ending positive affirmations, she returned to the stage for The Angela Bofill Experience, in which she skillfully narrated her life story. Her health issues continued to be a major hindrance to her comeback, with diabetes and kidney complications being part of the problems she faced over the years. Her financial situation became even worse after the release of The Essential Angela Bofill in 2014 by a record label that had purchased her music rights and was withholding her royalties, engaging her in lengthy legal battle in the process. By this time, she didn't have it in herself the energy needed to give a good fight, and mostly depended on fundraisings and donations over the years to keep up with her failing health issues. Fast forward on June 13, 2024, at around 11 a.m., roughly about a month after celebrating her 70th birthday, Angela Bofill sadly passed away at her daughter's home in Vallejo, California. Her funeral service was held on the 28th of June at St. Dominic's Catholic Church in Benicia, California, putting an end to what seemed to be some painful final years. What she went through all her life might have been heartbreaking, but we choose not to concentrate on the suffering. She was a truly remarkable artist, whose soulful voice and heartfelt performances touched the hearts of many. Her positive energy and beauty, both in and out, is something to be emulated. Even though she didn't quite hit true potential, the legacy she left behind in the music world will forever be cherished and remembered.